Today, we are looking at the underdogs, the unexpected, the ones who proved everyone wrong. Today's video is for the unexpected superheroes who saved the world. DC's The Unexpected are up first because I have to look at their name. The Unexpected debuted in 2018. They are a ragtag group that don't really fit together, but somehow that makes them the perfect team. They united under Neon the Unknown, and their typical battles are against multiversal threats. The team is made up of Neon, Firebrand, Viking Judge, and Ascendant. They had their own series. It's about 8 issues long. It's called The Unexpected, and it came right after the Dark Knight's Metal crossover event. Next up, Megamind. Love Megamind, greatest superhero movie ever made. No one ever thought Megamind would save the world because, well, he spent most of his life trying to destroy it. That's just facts. But then he went on one heck of a hero journey and ended up the hero of the city. Did he cause the problem? Yes, but that is not the focus right now. Megamind had all the makings of being a hero from the start. Incredibly smart, a great inventor, immeasurable charm, a recognizable brand, an iconic look. He always had hero potential in him, but he got bullied as a child, which kicked off his villain arc instead. Honestly, I know that, like, spoiler, Metro Man decided to hide away and retire, but Megamind was still able to frequently hold his own against his universe's Superman equivalent, despite not having any superpowers other than, like, intelligence. That is a feat. Plus, he managed to create another one and then defeat him. Not only was it unexpected that Megamind proved brains can trump brawn, but also that he had the good in him to save the day. Up next, Deadpool. Sure, he has all the makings of being someone that could absolutely save the world, talented in combat, willing to do whatever it takes, healing factor, and yet he just doesn't seem like the world-saving type. The brash, violent, and unserious nature of the character makes it hard to believe he would ever be able to handle such an important task, you know what I mean? Like, if someone were to pull up with Superman, there's a sigh of relief. With Deadpool, fear, you're starting your will. Maybe there's some hiccups and destruction along the way, but he will get the job done. I mean, Deadpool and Wolverine was literally all about Deadpool saving his world and learning what it is to truly be a hero and avenger. Batman. Okay, from our perspective now, it makes sense that Batman could save the world, maybe even do it with his eyes closed. This is Contingency Plan's world's greatest detective, genius, billionaire Bruce Wayne that we're talking about, and maybe his crew of kids if he's looking for help. He can save the world because he's Batman, but that's from our perspective as readers. Imagine being boots on the ground civilian and thinking that all that stands between you and certain death is some guy dressed like a bat. The first time Batman is set to save the world, I'm sorry, but I would be nervous. He's just a regular human as far as I'm concerned. Thankfully though, Bruce has managed to make himself into like a sort of legend in most universes, so people do think he does have superpowers. I mean, take that one scene from Justice League War where Green Lantern literally goes, "Wait, you're not just some guy in a bat costume, right?" And Batman turns around smiling like that one Joe Biden meme.
You're not just some guy in a bat costume, are you?
That's the same video, and you cannot tell me otherwise. So yeah, the first time this human saves the world, it's unexpected, but like after the third time though, it's a good sign to see the bat on the front lines. Shifting in tone now, Underdog. Remember in the intro when I said this video is for the underdogs, I meant that. Literally, I was introduced to Underdog through the 2007 movie, but he originated in an animated show from the 60s. He is meant to be a parody of Superman, so he has pretty much all the powers Superman does, but he's a dog. He can talk, he's got super canine strength, he can regenerate, but like he's also invincible and invulnerable, and he can fly. That's the most important part. His backstory does differ from Superman's in the movie. Underdog was once a regular dog, but he was kidnapped by an evil scientist, and upon escaping the lab, he was exposed to a bunch of chemicals that altered his DNA. The scientist and his German shepherds are the villains of the movie. They set up a huge bomb with mind-controlling chemicals in a heavily populated area. That is the main conflict. But Underdog, without powers, as a retired bomb dog, he sniffs it out and then with powers takes out the mind control serum, so now it's just a bomb that explodes underground and launches Underdog into space. Everyone's really sad about that until he does like come back and vow to protect Central City as Underdog. This movie is a masterpiece of cinema and I will not take criticism on that. Miles Morales has saved or helped save the world quite a few times, which is impressive considering his age, but if we take into account the movie lore, which is a little bit different from the comics, Miles was supposed to be a villain. He was supposed to become Prowler. It was an accident that he turned out a hero, he turned out Spider-Man. That's confirmed in the last shot of the second film installment, patiently waiting for a third when he comes to face with himself as Prowler. It was unexpected, literally to the multiverse and hands of destiny, that he became a hero. I love the detail in Into the Spider-Verse when Miles meets Peter and his color scheme changes from the Prowler's green and purple to Spider-Man's blue and red. It's been described as the moment Miles' journey changes, and I couldn't agree more. But you know what? Speaking of, up next, pretty much any young superhero or super team, what business do teenagers have being on the front lines, the Teen Titans, go do your homework? Ben 10 should not be fighting for his life at this age, please let him rest. In real life, I get why having young people at the forefront of movies and TV fighting alongside kids' favorite heroes is a good thing. It makes kids engage with the content and gives them someone to relate to, keeps that demographic interested in the heroverse. But again, imagine it's the aftermath of a brutal battle with intergalactic aliens and you find out the reason the world survived is because of some traffic light spandex clad boy that probably hasn't hit puberty yet, or some teen and her big red dinosaur. I would be shocked. Grateful, but shocked. G-Force, yes, we are talking about the guinea pigs again, because what business do guinea pigs have saving the world? What business does the FBI have in training a specially trained squad of guinea pigs that are dispatched to stop a diabolical billionaire from taking over the world? And that is the official plot synopsis, by the way. The story starts when the FBI got mad because an evil file from the diabolical billionaire that the G-Force grabbed turned out to be fake, so they decided the spy rodents weren't a necessary department, so they went to shut it down. But it wasn't a fake file, and it did contain the plans to cluster storm, aka global extinction. The plan was to make Earth's surface uninhabitable as revenge for the villain's family passing away. The infected hardware at the end of the movie all combines into this big evil robot, and so the guinea pigs and friends end up saving the day by placing a virus in the system, causing the robot to self-destruct, and the day is saved. Now, who would agree to voice and or appear in cinema such as this? Bill Nye, Will Arnett, Zach Galifianakis, Nicolas Cage, Sam Rockwell, Jon Favreau, Penelope Cruz, Steve Buscemi, and Tracy Morgan. Who would expect those little rodents to be the world-saving type? But hey, that's the magic of Disney. Up next, I have to put the Power Rangers. Again, they're a group of people too young to be so good at what they are doing, and yet somehow they are saving the world on a daily basis. Another reason they are on this list is because the way they sometimes fight and the science of the world, it is a miracle they succeed without getting too banged up. There was a clip going around a while ago that actually inspired this point. It's from Power Rangers Dino Supercharge. The pink Power Ranger kicks a laser in half. What's going on? That was unexpected, let me tell you. But anyways, the Power Rangers as a team made up of teens, they bicker and fight, but they always pull together when it matters. And finally, to bring us back to the content you would typically see on this page, Marvel's Loki. As the trickster god, Loki has done more harm to the world than good, at least at first. His MCU journey specifically is honestly kind of similar to Megamind's. They both started out as villains and then through a series of life lessons learned that they are capable of heroic acts. I mean, Loki didn't just save the world, he saved every world when he became the living temporal loom holding the multiverse together. Literally the ultimate sacrifice, and this was the guy that worked with Thanos and brought the Chitauri to Earth in the first Avengers movie. We love character development.
Barry Allen's selfless sacrifice during Crisis on Infinite Earths is not just a pivotal moment for the character, but instead it's a cornerstone of DC Comics history. This changed everything. When the Anti-Monitor prepared to fire his antimatter cannon, threatening of course to obliterate the multiverse, Barry realized there was no one else who could stop it. Drawing on his connection to the Speed Force, Barry pushed himself to run faster than ever before, creating a destructive energy surge that disrupted the cannon. Now the strain of this act was immense, causing his physical body to literally disintegrate into pure energy. Readers were left feeling a little odd and sad as Barry, a character character who had been a pillar of DC's universe since 1956 all of a sudden disappeared in a blaze of heroic glory. So for years, his absence was deeply felt. As Wally West, his protege, took up the mantle of the Flash, Barry's return in Final Crisis was obviously met with celebration, but his ultimate sacrifice in Crisis on Infinite Earths remains one of the most iconic and enduring examples of a hero's willingness to put the fate of others above his own life. Guy ran so fast he blew up. That's crazy. Jean Grey's story as the Phoenix is a timeless tale of power, responsibility, and sacrifice. After bonding with the Phoenix Force, Jean's abilities grew to godlike proportions, but the immense power proved too much for her to control. Her descent into the Dark Phoenix, a being capable of destroying entire planets, then forced the X-Men into an impossible position. The Shi'ar Imperial Guard, recognizing the Phoenix as a galactic threat, sought to eliminate Jean. In a desperate bid to protect her friends in the galaxy, Jean took matters into her own hands. On the moon, she activated an ancient Kree weapon to ultimately end her life, ensuring the Phoenix Force could no longer harm anyone. Her passing marked the culmination of the Dark Phoenix saga, widely regarded as one of Marvel's greatest storylines. Jean's sacrifice was not only a heartbreaking moment for her teammates, but also a profound commentary on the cost of wielding immense power. You can't have it all, people. Superman's fight against the monstrous Doomsday remains one of the most defining and emotional moments in comic book history. As Doomsday tore through Metropolis, leaving a path of destruction in its wake, Superman confronted him in a battle that shook the entire DC universe. Now, despite his unparalleled strength and resilience, Superman realized that stopping Doomsday would require more than just brute force this time. This time, it would take his life. In a brutal showdown, both combatants unleashed devastating blows, culminating in a final strike that left them both gone. Superman's lifeless body, cradled by Lois Lane amidst the rubble, became an enduring image of loss and heroism. The story transcended comics, sparking widespread media attention and became a cultural phenomenon. We actually saw something similar in Batman vs Superman. That's how good it was. While some criticized his eventual resurrection, the emotional weight of Superman's sacrifice and his willingness to give everything for us, humanity, remains a testament to his character, an enduring example of the power of hope. I wonder if we'll see something similar in James Gunn's Superman movie. During the apocalyptic events of Fear itself, Earth faced its greatest peril, the Asgardian serpent, Kol, whose return threatened to plunge the world into chaos. Now, Steve Rogers, as Captain America, stepped forward in a moment of unparalleled bravery. When Thor was incapacitated, Steve took up Mjolnir, Thor's enchanted hammer, to continue the fight against the serpent. Though he's just a mortal man, Steve's unyielding resolve made him a match for even godlike forces. In this climactic battle, Steve pushed himself beyond his physical limits, ultimately succumbing to the overwhelming odds. His passing, while temporary in comics, highlighted the essence of Captain America's character, a man who would face impossible odds and make the ultimate sacrifice for the greater good. The moment resonated deeply with readers, showcasing Steve's indomitable spirit and unshakable commitment to protecting humanity, no matter the cost. Hal Jordan's story in Final Night is a tale of redemption and heroism. Once one of the greatest Green Lanterns, Hal fell from grace after becoming the fear-empowered villain Parallax. However, when the Sun Eater extinguished Earth's sun, plunging the planet, of course, into freezing darkness, Hal saw a chance to atone for his past sins. Harnessing the immense power of Parallax, Hal reignited the sun by merging with it, a move that cost him his life. Now, this act of selflessness redeemed him in the eyes of fans and his fellow heroes, marking a return to the ideals that had once defined him. Though Hal was resurrected years later in Green Lantern Rebirth, his sacrifice in Final Night remains one of the most defining moments. A powerful reminder of the lengths a real hero will go for the redemption of the greater good. This guy powered up the sun. That's pretty good. In the Ragnarok storyline, Thor uncovered a grim truth. Asgard was trapped in an eternal cycle of destruction and rebirth orchestrated by higher powers for their own amusement. This revelation pushed Thor to make an unthinkable decision. To free his people from this endless loop, he allowed himself and all of Asgard to perish during the final climactic battle of Ragnarok. This sacrifice wasn't just about defeating the enemies of Asgard, it was about breaking the chains of fate itself. Thor's willingness to embrace his own demise just to secure freedom for his people, of course, elevated his character to new heights. Fans praised the storyline for its philosophical depths and ties to Norse mythology. While Thor would later return, this moment stands as one of his greatest acts of heroism, cementing his legacy as a protector not just of Asgard, but the concept of free will itself. Peter Parker's story in the Ultimate Marvel Universe ended in a moment of pure heroism heroism and heartbreak. Gravely injured after a battle with the Green Goblin, Peter fought hard to protect Aunt May and the citizens of New York. It was a big, tough battle. Now, despite his wounds, Peter refused to back down, demonstrating the unyielding resolve that had defined him since the day he became Spider-Man. In his final moments, Peter found solace in the fact that he had saved the people that he cared about the most. His passing left a lasting impact on fans who praised the story for capturing the core of Spider-Man's entire existence, right? With great power comes great responsibility. Peter's sacrifice paved the way for Miles Morales to carry on his legacy. Tony Stark's ultimate sacrifice during the Iron Man 2020 arc was the culmination of his journey from a self-centered billionaire to a selfless hero. Confronted by an AI uprising threatening humanity, Tony faced an existential crisis about his own identity. Was he more machine than man? More man than machine? What am I? In his final act, Tony embraced his humanity, sacrificing himself to shut down the rebellion and save countless lives. The moment resonated deeply with fans, encapsulating Tony's growth as a character. While some debated the arc, the emotional weight of Tony's decision and his willingness to give everything for the greater good did cement his status as one of Marvel's most complex and compelling heroes. He also snapped the gauntlet in Avengers Endgame that brought everyone back to life, so he's doing it a lot. When Darkseid unleashed the anti-life equation, enslaving minds across the universe, Batman made a fateful decision, breaking his long-standing vow against taking another life. Bruce used a radiation projectile to fatally wound the Tyrant. However, the act came at a great cost. Darkseid hit Bruce with the Omega Sanction, seemingly ending his life at the same time. Though later revealed to be trapped in time, the moment resonated with fans as a testament to Batman's unwavering resolve. He broke his only rule to save the day. That's pretty big. This act of ultimate defiance against the impossible odds showcased the Dark Knight's willingness to sacrifice himself for the greater good, cementing his legacy now as a hero who would stop at nothing to protect others, including his own rule. We have the Flash again, saving the day once more. Wally West's sacrifice during Heroes in Crisis is one of the most emotionally charged moments in modern DC history. It's pretty crazy. Racked with guilt over a tragedy that he accidentally caused, Wally used the Speed Force to go back and undo the damage, effectively giving his life to save others. Now, this act of redemption was both heartbreaking, but also, of course, it was inspiring, showcasing Wally's deep sense of responsibility and his willingness to face the consequences of his own actions, in whatever superhero way you want to do that. Though the storyline divided fans at first, Wally's sacrifice remains a reminder of the humanity that underpins even the greatest heroes. And it turns out, some problems you can run away from.
Starting us off in at number 10, Green Arrow. Oliver Queen was initially criticized as being a ripoff of Batman, ironically, by the same publisher behind The Dark Knight. Ollie first appeared in 1941's More Fun Comics issue 73, existing as a Caped Crusader carbon copy, who even had a clown-themed foe who went by the name of Bullseye. But in 1969, he got an update thanks to Neil Adams and Dennis O'Neil, with Ollie getting his trademark Van Dyke beard and a new ideology in which he was an outspoken advocate of the underprivileged and the political left wing. He also lost his fortune. While Oliver Queen has arguably saved a lot of people before, one of the times that he's made a really big impact was in an alternate universe, specifically Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. While he does not appear in the comic at length, he plays one of the most important roles in the story. Despite missing an arm, he shoots Superman with a kryptonite arrow, giving Batman an opportunity to fight the arguably corrupted Man of Steel in his crusade for a better tomorrow. Up next, number 9, Hindsight Lad. Hindsight Lad, aka Carlton Lafroig, is a character who often gets ripped on a whole lot. He initially became a superhero after blackmailing his neighbor Robbie Baldwin, the hero Speedball, with revealing his secret identity if he was not allowed in the New Warriors team. Robbie gave in, and Carlton donned the persona Hindsight Lad, which, yes, does not make a whole lot of sense for someone who fights crime. But despite this, when he was on the New Warriors team, he actually proved incredibly helpful, not only saving the team on several occasions, but also doing the world some good. He broke into a secret Hydra base, outsmarted the Pearl Sect, and then aided the New Warriors in defeating them. In at number 8, Adam Strange. Adam Strange is a fun character, and while he may not have saved the world that we call home, he has definitely saved the planet that he calls home many a time. And that still counts, right? He first appeared in Showcase issue 17 in 1958. As an archaeologist who was suddenly transported from Peru to a completely different planet called Rann. Here he becomes the hero of Rann, using the planet's technology to protect it from extraterrestrial threats. He's very much a product of the Silver Age and the explosion of science fiction stories appearing in comics at that time. He wears a jetpack spacesuit that lets him fly and travel through space. He carries energy blast guns, can generate solid light equipment from his suit, and was given a pair of cloned eyes that allow him to see the whole electromagnetic spectrum.
quite the upgrade. In at 7, Nightwing. Aside from being born with a beautiful butt, Dick Grayson does not have superpowers. Sorry, firm buttocks do not technically count. The OG Robin, Dick Grayson, was trained by Bruce Wayne, learning from him not only how to kick some serious butt, lots of butt jokes in this, but how to use his mind to do it too. He may not be Bruce, but Bruce did teach him well. Aside from all of his adventures with the Cape Crusader where he actively participated in keeping the world safe, his solo efforts are not to be forgotten. From stepping in to occupy the cowl after Bane had broken Batman's back, because the world in Gotham are screwed without Bruce, let's be honest, to tracking down bioweapons as an agent of Spiral, an interesting period of Dick's life. Dick is one of the most noble and good-hearted individuals in DC's roster of heroes, always doing what he can to make the world a better place. Gotta love a dude who is noble. And at number 6, Black Widow. Jumping into the MCU for this number, let's talk about Black Widow, and, spoiler alert, what she did in Avengers Endgame. I mean, you probably should have seen it by now, but still, spoilers abound. You've been warned. So in the latter half of the film, we see all of our beloved undusted heroes time travel to different time periods and places in order to collect the Infinity Stones as a means to reverse Thanos' snap and return the half of all living things that he obliterated. See what I mean about wanting to avoid spoilers? I'm basically just gonna tell you almost everything that happens. Natasha and Clint, aka Hawkeye, find themselves on Vormir, where the Soul Stone is being kept. But unknown to them, as we learned in Infinity War, in order to collect the Soul Stone, you need to sacrifice someone you love. Both of them duke it out to determine who will be the one to sacrifice themselves, all to save the world and bring back everyone who had been killed. And Natasha beats out Clint, sacrificing herself for the greater good. It was pretty tragic. And an ending for the character that caused a bit of uproar amongst devoted Black Widow fans. In at number 5, Iron Man. Iron Man's inclusion on this list kinda feels like cheating. Tony Stark, similar to a handful of other heroes that we'll be getting to later on, has brains and money. Lots of money. The combination of these two assets allow him to continue to build stronger and stronger versions of his Iron Man suit, his powered armor that gives him superhuman strength and durability, supersonic flight, regenerative life support, an energy repulsor and missile projector, and access to all of the other brilliant tech that he's crafted, including being tuned into whatever AI system he's currently running with. And ever since his bleeding edge armor, Tony has had the ability to store his suit within his bones, which can be assembled and controlled by his thoughts, although he does tend to use more conventional armors these days since Extremis has been removed. That being said, he has no innate superpowers. He wasn't born with powers, nor did he accumulate them. Rather, he created a suit that gave him those abilities. Regardless, while it's debatable if Tony should be on this list, he definitely is a superhero who has saved the world plenty of times, both in the comics and recently up on the big screen in Avengers Endgame. Up next, number 4, Hawkeye. Hawkeye is yet another Archer superhero on our list. Initially introduced as a reluctant villain in Tales of Suspense issue 57 in 1964, he would soon become an Avenger a year later, joining the team in Avengers issue 16. And while he saved many lives during his stint with the team, one of his most heroic victories was when he saved the Avengers from the Collector single-handedly, after they began to mysteriously disappear in Avengers 174 in 1978. Then he proceeds to work with them to defeat Korvac and save the Earth, despite Korvac kind of having humanity's best interests at heart the first time he showed up in Marvel's panels. But hey, that's still saving the world. In at number 3, Nick Fury. Nick Fury may not have superpowers, but dude has been saving the world since World War II. His first appearance in the comics was courtesy of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, a story called Sergeant Fury and His Howling Commandos, in which we see a grenade cause him to lose his eye. Eventually he was made a member of S.H.I.E.L.D., with him transitioning into more of a James Bond-esque spy character in Strange Tales issue 135 in 1965. Working with S.H.I.E.L.D., he did a lot for the planet, working to take down the international terrorist group Hydra and forming strategic alliances with superheroes. Eventually, after it's revealed that S.H.I.E.L.D. has been infiltrated by life-model decoys called Deltites, he rebuilds S.H.I.E.L.D. from the ground up. And we'll leave it at that because we really don't want to get into original sin. In at number 2, Ozymandias. Okay, yes, Adrian Veidt from Watchmen is technically a villain, although you could argue that he's merely a hero who took extreme measures for the greater good. Much of the morality of the vigilantes in Watchmen is characterized by gray areas and ethics. It's one of the reasons why Watchmen was praised as subverting the comic book art form, turning the graphic novel into thought-provoking literature, according to some critics who clearly could use a history lesson or two pertaining to the medium, just saying. Huffy Puffy aside, Ozymandias is a character who manages to do what no one else could. He ends the energy crisis, he prevents a nuclear war that could irrevocably damage the planet and humanity, and he creates world peace, all without taking any credit, minus gloating exploding to his fellow crime busters. Rorschach cannot live with that, or the fact that his peers won't expose Veidt after realizing the extent of good that his crimes have caused, so Dr. Manhattan kills him. Regardless, Veidt has no superpowers, only a genius-level intellect and a crap ton of money that said smarts helped him acquire with his own business, Veidt Industries. And last but not least, in at number 1, the most obvious superhero who has no powers, Batman. Bruce Wayne has no superpowers. Much like our last number, dude is all smarts and cash dollars. But unlike our last number, Batman has a code of honor that he follows religiously. He does not kill. We'll let those early issues of Detective Comics slide. It was the golden age after all. This man, who rubs shoulders with the superpowered members of the Justice League and is arguably more competent than a handful of them combined, has managed to save the world over and over and over again. Even from some of those very Justice League members whenever they dabbled in villainy, often unintentionally. There's a laundry list of times that he's done the deed. JLA, New World Order, Crisis on Two Earths, Kingdom Come, Flashpoint, and so much more, including times where he's worked as a member of a team to save the world. And the multiverse too. He is in the big leagues after all. And that is something pretty darn special.
Number 10. Poison Ivy. So while Poison Ivy usually stays pretty confined to her roots in terms of where she calls home, haha, get it? On a smaller scale, she has worked to save what she would consider her world within Gotham. Poison Ivy would do anything to save the environment, as we all know, even at the expense of destroying humanity. Many would think that to her a perfect world would in fact be one without any humans to harm her beloved plant children. Although in most cases, most people would be right in regards to this assumption, Ivy does have a few exceptions when it comes to loving humans. She has a sort of odd love of Batman and a full-on girl crush for her girl Harley Quinn. She has even passed on world domination for Quinn. But she also saved a good amount of people in Gotham during the events of No Man's Land, when she set up shop in Robinson Park and actually cared for any people who found their way there, referring to them as her orphans and acting as their protector. She also helped Batman to secure produce for the people of Gotham. And when it comes to real world means of saving the planet, Ivy also does her part, speaking at climate change conferences in an attempt to inspire change through others. Number 9. Norman Osborn. Green Goblin and Norman Osborn has done an insane amount of imaginatively awful things to Spider-Man and others who got in his way. He wasn't the only one dealing with the events of Secret Invasion, but Osborn did manage to save the world during that event when he dealt the kill shot to Veronica, the Skrull Queen. As such, he is awarded with the trust of the President of the United States, who disbands S.H.I.E.L.D. and allows Osborn to build a new agency in its stead. Osborn then creates Hammer, which doesn't actually stand for anything in terms of the acronym. He creates his own team of superheroes built out of former supervillains, which he calls the Dark Avengers. Or which we call the Dark Avengers? I don't know. He probably just calls them the Avengers. While Osborn is a flawed hero at best, his team do manage to track down and take out the Molecule Man when they discover he is responsible for a series of missing persons. Number 8. Lex Luthor. Lex has often stepped up to the plate to begrudgingly help Superman when the world is truly at risk. Why? Because ultimately Lex's primary beef is with Superman, not the entire world. In truth, he is only a villain in terms of the entire Earth, because going up against Superman usually means putting the planet at risk. But when another greater threat reveals itself, Luthor will often put the greater good before his personal vendetta. There is a story where Luthor was actually the only hero on Earth as well. Yep, though this wasn't Alexander Luthor, not specifically Lex Luthor. Alexander was actually the Earth 3 version of Lex himself. Earth 3 is an Earth where the only supers are villains, but when two good versions of Superman follow two evil villains of Lex Luthor there, and are forced to go up against Kryptonian Ultraman, Alexander steps in to save the day, making him the only hero on Earth 3, where the crime syndicate is obviously from. That is before Earth 3 was destroyed in Crisis on Infinite Earths and then rebooted and altered. So now Alexander's, well, he's not as cool. He's not really a hero anymore. Kind of crazy. Number 7. Loki. During the Axis storyline, Wanda inverted all superhero and supervillain moralities, making those who are good bad and those who are bad good. Instead of embracing and simply enjoying this change, as Loki finally gets to be seen as a hero for a while, Loki actually fights tirelessly to reverse the state of the world and help out the heroes who are currently trapped inside villainous mentalities. During his time acting as a hero, Loki was known as the god of heroism and truth, and was even worthy enough to lift Thor's hammer. Loki at his best. Number 6. Magneto. While Magneto may have a more forceful strategy when it comes to fighting for mutant rights, he is ultimately trying to do something noble. Sort of. The main difference between Eric and Charles is that Charles' vision is to create harmony between humans and mutants, where Eric simply wants humans out of the way, as he believes they do not necessarily deserve to live among mutants. Magneto is even sometimes stated as being the better leader between the two, and lately Magneto's beliefs seem to have even affected Charles for the better, as the two work together in the House of X to build a new life for the mutants on Krakoa. Despite being painted as a villain, this isn't the first time Magneto has joined with the X-Men. In fact, he has joined with them so many times that I have just lost count, flip-flopping back and forth between noble acts and dastardly ones. In Age of Apocalypse, he even worked with the X-Men to save the world from Apocalypse, even managing to tear Apocalypse apart piece by piece until all that was left was his head. Number 5. Harley Quinn. If you have not read any of the 2016 Batman series by Tom King and David Finch, well, you need to change that. There's one particular story arc that sees Batman and Catwoman coming up alone against Poison Ivy after she's taken over the entire world. The two try to convince her to release her hold on everyone and attempt to defeat her, but ultimately realize that she's just too powerful and they are no match for her. Fortunately, they know just who is. They come up with a plan to free Harley Quinn from Ivy's grasp just long enough to convince Ivy to chat with Harley. What they ultimately know is that Harley holds such a sway over Pamela that the two are so close that she'll be able to talk Pamela down. Poison Ivy is in pain, which is why she's trying to save the world by enslaving everyone. She feels the need to fix it. Harley defeats her by telling her it's okay to be hurt, and that they can be hurt together. She knows that Ivy can save the world, but she asks, just for today, that they instead focus on saving Pam. So cute. Just saving the world with her words. Snap. Number 4. Dr. Doom. This villain has saved many people every now and then. Victor Von Doom is a genius and a leader. He rules over Latveria, which is an ultra-controlled but very peaceful nation. And many remember when he was God Emperor Doom after the events of an incursion where he became a god in order to save the multiverse by creating his own battle world. Although many of us are familiar with that story, I would argue one of his best storylines thus far in regards to saving the world from global threats is in the infamous Iron Man storyline, where we see Victor take up the mantle of Iron Man. As Iron Man, he defeats an entire room full of supervillains who have created an alliance to actually take him down. And later, he also manages to defeat Mephisto. The best part is the group of villains actually think that joining together will protect them from Doom. And just as they are discussing this, they're promptly defeated by him. Number 3. The Joker. That's right, in a storyline where superheroes came up against their greatest challenge, Joker stood with them to help them save the world. The challenge? Nuclear war. A real world threat too. Granted, in the event of an actual nuclear war, we'd most likely see all life on Earth obliterated. But in the Superman comic Distant Fires, Superman ventured outside of the ruins of Metropolis to find a post-apocalyptic community built by surviving superheroes and some supervillains, including the Joker himself. You see, the blast had caused the supers to lose their powers, but for Joker it allowed him to regain his sanity. In this scenario, we saw him as a sane do-gooder and a leader, working hard to help the survivors of the blast. Although it didn't really work forever, Joker still was successful in helping humanity to survive for as long as they could, even building a generator to grant the community electricity. Nuclear devastation is a pretty hard one to beat. Let's try to not have a nuclear war. Seems like a bad idea. Number 2. Thanos. While the MCU would have us believe that Thanos is one of the worst of the worst, the comics, they would also pretty much have us believe that, so. But there are times that even the Mad Titan has felt that a supervillain was going too far. Thanos wanted the Infinity Stones in the comics to destroy half of the universe's population to earn the affections of Mistress Death, which granted sure is pretty awful. Killing that many people just to impress a sweetheart seems pretty extreme. But Magus, the evil version of Adam Warlock, was even worse. He wanted the stones so he could destroy all life. Pretty bad. This threat actually saw Thanos join the heroes and play a key role in defeating Magus. Even the most evil of characters can be one of the good guys sometimes, it seems. We even see a version of Thanos that ends up leading the Avengers in issue 10 of the 2016 Thanos comic series. Shocking. Even more shocking, he seems like pretty okay with that alternate version of himself. Number 1. Darkseid. In the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths, Darkseid ends up joining with the heroes who take on the Anti-Monitor for good, after he seeks to destroy the last known Earth. Darkseid was one of the crucial few in the fight, able to weaken Anti-Monitor long enough for Superman to get that final blow. And Alexander Luthor, who I was actually talking about earlier, was also one of the other important supers to help in this fight. Very strange that both Darkseid and Thanos, who are known for being a couple of the biggest bads around, have both come together with supers for the greater good of the entire Earth's existence. Or the entire universe's existence, I should say. I guess that is ultimately what you need if you want to turn some of the most evil villains momentarily good. Just a really big threat.
Coming in at number 10, we have Poison Ivy, specifically the version seen in the 2015 video game Batman Arkham Knight. As a recurring boss battle in the previous games in the series, Poison Ivy was one of the standout villains in a trilogy best known for making the player truly feel like they were fighting as Batman. In the grand finale, however, Poison Ivy no longer wanted to ally herself with the Scarecrow's plan to take over Gotham, initially refusing to join his League of Villains, and later even sacrificing her own life in order to help grow an ancient tree that will help work as an antidote to the Scarecrow's toxins plaguing the city. At the end of the day, this version of Poison Ivy just cared about her plants and the greenery of Gotham, and was willing to sacrifice her life for the good of the city as long as her friends could live. Coming in at number 9, we have Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, aka the Red Hulk. For years, General Ross had been the lead military commander in charge of tracking down and capturing the Incredible Hulk, and has been a persistent thorn in Bruce Banner's side. But following the death of his daughter and the Hulk's exile into outer space, Ross was manipulated by MODOK and several other supervillains into becoming the Red Hulk, in case his nemesis should ever return. And while for a time the Red Hulk was a feared adversary for the heroes who remained on Earth, Ross would eventually see to reason and become a functioning member of the Avengers, teaming up with them to save Earth from the power of the Infinity Gauntlet, and proving that a Hulk doesn't have to be green to occasionally do some good. Coming in at number 8, we have Dr. Jonathan Crane, aka the Scarecrow. Best known for being a fear-based nemesis of Batman's, Dr. Jonathan Crane found himself in the unique position to help save the entire universe during the DC Comics event known as Blackest Night. With the Green Lantern Corps facing off against an undead army of Black Lanterns, it was discovered that Scarecrow's exposure to fear toxin made him one of the few beings in existence capable of being undetected by the Black Lanterns. To make use of this quirk, Scarecrow was gifted a yellow power ring, and allowed to join the Sinestro Corps as they briefly teamed up with their rival colors, allowing Jonathan Crane to use his mastery of fear for the good of the entire DC multiverse. Coming in at number 7, we have the infamous Norman Osborn. Perhaps best known as being the alter ego of Spider-Man's nemesis, the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn has long been one of the biggest threats in the Marvel Universe, manipulating events from afar as the feared CEO of Oscorp. Following the invasion of Earth by the Skrull army, Norman found himself suddenly in the public eye and with goodwill after being the one to personally defeat the Skrull Queen. Norman would use this influence to lead the Dark Avengers as the Iron Patriot, a twisted version of superheroics that would help protect the Earth from several world-ending threats, but also saw Norman slowly giving himself more and more power over the Avengers and S.H.I.E.L.D. So, does it still count as saving the world if you did it for bad reasons? And we'll let the philosophers debate that one. Coming in at number 6, we have the iconic X-Men villain Apocalypse. Born thousands of years ago under the name En Saba Nur as one of the very first mutants, Apocalypse has long been an ancient thorn in the X-Men's side, as he often tries to rally his Horsemen of the Apocalypse and take over the entire planet. But with the new mutant status quo seeing all of mutant kind suddenly living at peace and with many quarrels ended, Apocalypse has surprisingly enough been one of the biggest supporters of the new island of Krakoa. Claiming it's the realization of everything he's always wanted for mutants, Apocalypse put down his arms against the X-Men and instead only wields his blade now to fight for Krakoa and mutant influence, protecting the island from threats that might seek to destroy the new New Mutant Homeland. Coming in at number 5, we have Atrocitus, leader of the Red Lanterns. A violent warrior that became consumed with rage after he believed the Guardians of the Universe let his family die, Atrocitus formed the Red Lanterns as an outlet for his fury and as a way to destroy both the Green Lantern Corps and their most esteemed warrior at the time, Sinestro. This rage would often bring him into conflict with the various Lanterns, but Atrocitus was luckily able to be reasoned with during the Blackest Night event, which saw the Red Lanterns grudgingly teaming up with the rest of the color spectrum against the undead Black Lantern army. And hey, if an unstoppable force of zombie aliens can't bring enemies together, what can? Coming in at number 4, we have the villainous Superman of the Injustice universe. In the Injustice branch of the DC multiverse that's been depicted in both comic books and video games, the Man of Steel is not somebody to be messed with. After being tricked by the Joker into killing his own wife and daughter, this Superman has gone full villain, taking over the world with brutal efficiency and force. In the sequel video game, Injustice 2, however, Superman once again finds himself having to be the hero when he is broken out of Batman's prison in order to defend the world against a Brainiac invasion. This Superman may want to rule the world, but there needs to be an actual planet to rule, and so he grudgingly helps the heroes that imprisoned him fight back against a new threat that might just be too big for all of them to handle. Coming in at number 3, we have Dr. Otto Octavius, specifically the version seen in Sam Raimi's 2004 film, Spider-Man 2. This movie is one of my favorite superhero films ever, and a large part of that is due to its complex and sympathetic villain in the form of Dr. Octopus. This version of Doc Ock isn't robbing banks or threatening people just because he's evil, but because he's lost control of the mechanical arms attached to his body while being overwhelmed with grief from the death of his wife. In the end, however, Otto is able to regain control of his body and realizes what his ego and drive to create the fusion generator have done, and willingly sacrifices himself to save both New York City and the recently unmasked Peter Parker. Still brings a tear to my eye just thinking about it. Coming in at number 2, we've got a special shout out to practically every Batman villain except the Joker. During the 2014 event known as Batman Endgame, no relation to the MCU, the Joker has finally decided to end his years-long battle with Batman, feeling that the Caped Crusader no longer valued their relationship. Planning to kill everyone in Gotham City, the Joker started a parade of murder, with the bat symbol hanging upside down in the sky above Gotham, a symbol for all of Batman's enemies to gather if the Batman ever died. In a twist, however, it was Batman himself who lit the signal, knowing of his villain's pact, and makes an offer to the assembled rogues gallery to help take back the city from Joker. It's one of the best moments in Batman comics over the last decade, and seeing all of Gotham's villains team up against the Clown Prince of Crime is truly something to behold. And finally, coming in at our top spot, we have the iconic Darkseid. If there was any DC villain that you would expect to never ally with the side of good, it would be Darkseid. But during the 2001 Our Worlds at War event, that's exactly what took place. When the villain Imperiex threatened to reignite the Big Bang and completely reset the DC universe, Darkseid grudgingly realized the destruction of the universe would mean he'd never be able to accomplish his own evil goals. Thus, he proposed an alliance with both Lex Luthor and Superman to help defeat the universe-exploding threat, using his boom tubes to hold off Imperix's energy attacks while the superheroes attempted to stop the villain once and for all. And while Darkseid and Superman would go back to being eternal enemies after this, it was still nice to see them working together, even if it was only for a couple issues.
Number 10, Joker. During the events of Last Night on Earth, Joker actually teams up with Batman to help him save what is left of the world, which is now pretty much a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Despite being reduced to just a head in a jar, Joker proves to be pretty useful, even kind of becoming Batman's new robotic Robin. Batman ends up taking the Joker's head to a version of the Batcave, if not the Batcave, and gives Joker a Robin mech suit, attaching his head to it, which allows Joker to control the body and help Batman in his fight against the mysterious force known as Omega. No spoilers here though, so you can read Last Night on Earth for more. Number 9. Super Skrull. Not only has Super Skrull Kl'rt now joined the side of good, basically, serving Emperor Doric VIII, aka Emperor Hulkling, aka Teddy Altman, who himself rules the alliance of the Kree and Skrull forces and is a hero, but even before that, he lended a hand to help save the universe. When the Annihilation Wave threatened the existence of all life in the universe, Super Skrull joined the opposing forces and fought against both Annihilus and his wave and the Ultron Phalanx. It just goes to show that when a problem presents itself that is bigger than his own personal vendettas, Kl'rt can put aside his differences and even become a temporary or possibly permanent hero as he fights to protect the world. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists like it where we talk about when villains sometimes wear the mantle of hero, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8. The Suicide Squad. During James Gunn's The Suicide Squad film, our lovable ragtag team of criminal misfits decide to band together, even when their mission is deemed finished by Amanda Waller, to continue the fight to save Corto Maltese and potentially the world from the wrath of Project Starfish, aka Starro the Conqueror. The final team in this film includes Bloodsport, Rick Flag, Harley Quinn, King Shark, Ratcatcher 2, Polka Dot Man, and Peacemaker. They are also joined by ally Milton at the end and the Thinker, who's kind of forced into helping them as they break into Jotunheim. While not all of them make it to that final showdown, all those still standing decide to go against orders and fight to protect the world against Starro. And guess what? They win. But I'm not going to spoil who's left alive, just in case. Just in case you still haven't seen this movie. And if you haven't seen The Suicide Squad, what are you doing with your life? Go watch it, so good. Number 7. Loki. During the Fear Itself event, Loki was the one who freed Thor, which enabled all of Midgard to be saved as they faced his villainous uncle called Borsin, the Serpent. The reason he was locked up was because he disagreed with his father, Odin. There was a prophecy that basically foretold Thor's death at the hands of the Serpent, which was a big part of the reason why Odin forbade Thor from continuing in the fight. However, Thor believed that it was his duty to protect Midgard, and Loki, who was Kid Loki at the time and on a path of redemption himself, decided to help his brother achieve his mission by freeing him. Without Loki's help, Thor would have been unable to confront the Serpent and would have therefore been unable to save the Earth. Thor, however, would die in the fight but would later return to life once more. You know, comics. Number 6. Mephisto. Mephisto actually ended up teaming up with Marvel's heroes in order to help them defeat his own son, Blackheart. Mephisto is all about making deals that usually cause a lot of harm to our heroes and generally a lot of chaos in the world that our heroes then must fight against. And yet this time around, Mephisto decided to join their side, not because he actually cared about saving the world really, but because he more refused to be outdone by his own son and admit defeat to him. The heroes who had fallen in the battle against Blackheart were resurrected and joined by Mephisto himself. However, even with Mephisto wanting to help, he still only did so while also marking the heroes with hell marks, forcibly turning them into his kind of heirs. After all, this is still Mephisto we're talking about here. The heroes succeeded in defeating Blackheart, but would then be indebted to Mephisto thereafter. Which obviously a lot of them, when they realized that, were like, I don't like that very much, but I guess hey, what can you do? Number 5. Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn might be leaning more towards hero more recently in the comics, but it's important to remember that she did start out as a villainous sidekick before becoming a supervillain in her own right, and even being considered the winner of Villain of the Year. That wasn't too long ago. That's just how bad she was. But even when she was regarded as a villain, Harley would still at times do things that could be considered heroic, challenging her own and others' sense of right and wrong when it felt necessary. Harley even helped to save the world at one point from her dear friend and, you know, sometimes girlfriend, Poison Ivy. Ivy had finally had enough and decided to use her powers to take over the world, controlling the minds of citizens using veggies, which were infected by her influence before being ingested by the populace. Harley was called upon by Batman and Catwoman to do something, as they knew she was likely the only person who would be able to influence Ivy herself and hopefully convince her to stop. And guess what? They were right. Harley succeeded and in doing so saved the world from a loss of free will. Although to be honest, Poison Ivy ruling the world seems like it wouldn't actually be too bad. Although you wouldn't get to choose what you wanted to do with your life, so I guess that's pretty bad. I want to live my life. I don't want Ivy to live my life for me, you know? Number 4, Thanos. When the Cancerverse struck out and attempted to corrupt the 616 reality, Thanos was one of the characters who ended up banding together with the heroes to try and put a stop to it. Sometimes willingly, sometimes not so willingly. While not a hero himself, Thanos would very much be against the Cancerverse reality infecting his own, considering that the Cancerverse reality was warped so badly as a result of the decimation of death. And as kind of like a loyal follower of death, or sometimes kind of like a herald of death acting on death's behalf, Thanos wouldn't like that very much. Thanos is generally all about death, whether she be a lady or, you know, even just a concept. So a world without it, I can imagine, would greatly offend him. Thanos teamed up with Star-Lord and Nova using the Cosmic Cube to prevent the Cancerverse from invading the 616 reality, and ultimately risking themselves in the process as they kind of became trapped in the Cancerverse as a result. Well, they kind of trapped Thanos there first, but don't worry, Thanos got out in the end. Why would you be worried about that? I don't know. Maybe you're a Thanos fan. I'm saying that like Thanos is a good guy. I'm like, don't worry. Thanos made it. He's alive. Thank goodness. Number 3, Black Adam. Black Adam is a villain whose purpose and motivation generally leads to him acting as a hero or an anti-hero at times. He was part of Lex Luthor's anti-crime syndicate in Justice League and stood against that team of villainous heroes from the reality of Earth 3, taking on Ultraman himself in a one-on-one fight. Black Adam has also worked with DC's heroes before, even though he was known initially as a Shazam or Captain Marvel villain in the comics. He's not only been an ally, but even a team member, actually joining the Justice League as a member at times. I think he's also been part of the Justice Society, so yeah, he's one of those guys that's constantly saving the world, but then also endangering the world, depending on the day. Number 2, Doctor Doom. During the events of the 2015 Secret Wars over at Marvel Comics, Doctor Doom ended up taking on the heavy responsibility of saving the world, or at least doing his best to save the world. He ends up accepting, or perhaps rather taking, the power needed in order to save the remnants of all the alternate universes which have basically collided in the incursion, creating a new place also known as Battleworld. Which is a new battle world, but we've heard the name Battle World before, just to be clear. Doom becomes the ruler of this new world and is now referred to as God Emperor Doom, and is worshipped as a god by many citizens whose lives he has managed to save and preserve, although they don't really know everything that happened before. Unfortunately, while Doom managed to save a lot of folks, the world was kind of a patchwork style-like quilt that was a bit of a mess in areas, to be honest. Eventually, the residents of this world realize that they are being somewhat manipulated by Doom, and many of them rise up in revolt, because they don't like that very much. Eventually, Doom battles against Mr. Fantastic, who takes Molecule Man's power for himself. Doom had been using this power prior to create and manage Battleworld, but Mr. Fantastic takes it to rebuild the multiverse properly, and all the universes within it, tweaking things here and there to improve them. Or improve them from, you know, Mr. Fantastic's point of view. But Doom was the one who actually prevented everything from getting full-on blowed up in the incursions to begin with, and so he did his part for sure. I mean, without Doom, the world probably wouldn't even exist anymore, so just saying. Number 1, Lex Luthor. In Justice League Unlimited, Lex gets a great moment of redemption when he is the one to destroy Darkseid during the series finale episode titled Destroyer. During the battle against Darkseid, Luthor shows up right at the end as Superman is about to have his heart carved out by Darkseid. Lex offers Darkseid the only thing that he really could, the thing Darkseid wants most: the anti-life equation. However, when Darkseid reaches out to take the equation from Lex, Luthor uses his newfound power to make them both disappear, defeating Darkseid and saving both Superman and the world, seemingly at the cost of his own life.